you can't just go off of one woman. You really gotta, especially at a young age, you have to deal with several women to actually know what it is that you like. You know what I mean? Because you could be dealing, and this is why some, not I wouldn't say this is one of the reasons why some guys do end up cheating,
Mhm.
or end up, because they'll end up with a woman, or they'll end up in a relationship with a girl, and she blows their socks off, and they never had anything to compare it to. So when
Mm.
they first get their first sexual experience, they just lose their mind.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Yoshay Duke Jackson, back at it again with another collaboration. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell, and check everything out. But today, man, give a round of applause, editors, for JR Wisdom. This is light skinned brother. Okay, light skinned. I'm gonna let him explain what his channel is about.
Once again, shout out to the great O'Shea Duke Jackson, the leader of the Black Manosphere, the all-time great. So, for those of you who don't know what my channel is about, well, as of recently, for all the trolls and everybody, been recently doing reactions, but I've always been doing, content on, red pill topics, relationships, divorce, basically dating, all combined in interpersonal relationships and just self-improvement overall. So that's basically what my channel is about. But recently it's been reaction videos involving red pill topics. So there you have it.
All right. Thank you for coming on. But let me just talk about this, man, because you've been doing a lot of good things on your channel, getting a lot of views now, and your reactions are typically about relationship issues that men are having. Why did you pick that genre of content?
Man, it's to be honest with you, that's what kind of started my channel. And to be fair, when I actually discovered the Black Manosphere and came across these topics, I came across one of your videos because I was going through a divorce at the time, and I don't think I ever told you this. I was going through a divorce at the time, and you did, and I was like blowing up my ex-wife's phone. Well, she wasn't my ex-wife yet, but we were separated. I was blowing up her phone. She wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't answer the phone. And I'm sitting up there going super, even though it's questionable whether it's called simping when it's your wife. You know what I'm saying? But I still think it was simping. We were, separated for months. And I was just calling her phone, blowing, just trying to get her back. And I saw a video you did. I can't remember the exact one, but you said it was something along the lines of, basically, if somebody don't want to talk to you, don't stop calling, stop blowing the phone up, just leave it at that. And hey, that's it, just cut them off. I was like, and then like a light bulb just popped up, and I was just like, man, because none of this stuff, I got married at a young age. So,
okay.
And I didn't have a father, so to speak. So any relationship advice or anything I learned as far as relationships, I learned from guys in the street who really didn't know what the hell they was doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So everything all on TV. So I just saw what the television was teaching you, not knowing there was this whole other world out here of how a man should be conducting himself, when it comes to marriage and relationships. So, that's basically to answer your question, how I discovered, or how I started doing these topics and things like that.
So that's kind of, because you're kind of going through a specific situation in your life. A lot of guys look towards social media or information.
Right.
Let's talk about this, because you were at one point, you were married young, right?
Right, very young.
Okay. Young. How old were you when you got married? How did that kind of come about?
So I was in, just to bring this into context, I was in the military. I joined the military at 17, and I got married. And for those of you guys who've been in the military, I know somebody who's been in the military, it's not uncommon for people to get married like within a few months of knowing each other. And especially, I had no background or idea, and I didn't have like a lot of the topics that I talk about with these young guys, knocking up these girls, getting them pregnant and things like that, and just, not throwing their life away, but making these bad decisions. I didn't have anyone to base my life on, so I just thought it was the right thing to do. So I got married at 18. And my son was born the same year that I got married, at 18 years old. So which was definitely a bad idea. Definitely not a good idea because I didn't even know who I was, and my wife at the time definitely didn't know who the hell she was. So we were just two kids getting married, you know.
Let me kind of go back to that when you said you didn't know who you are. What do you really mean by that when you say you didn't know who you were?
I didn't know who I was because you look at it like at 18, you're still, I don't care, technically a man or an adult, but you're still a kid, and like I'm coming straight out of high school into the military, into the army. Don't really know what I like, don't know really the type, what's all available out there, what's out there. Haven't really had a long-term relationship, haven't really interacted with a bunch of women to know what it is that I actually like, or know how to really interact or treat a woman or even conduct myself. So that's what I mean by that. I didn't know who I was. You can't at such a young age, as a teenager, you can't really know, in my opinion. You can't really know who you are or what you like, or you haven't had enough experiences. And I think you said something I think this was on your video, which made sense a while ago, where you said something like a man doesn't become a man until he gets his heart broken. I think you said something like that a while ago.
That might have been something I said.
Yeah, you were like, a man doesn't become a man until he actually gets his heart broken, which I think that is one of the rites of passage, in a way, for sure. So, and you can't really, in my opinion, man, you don't know women. You have to go through a whole lot of interactions with women to really know who you are, and to, what works, what doesn't work. And, the psychology behind the whole thing, dealing with women. So for sure.
Let me ask you this, because before you got married, I mean, your mother,
right?
Father was he still living at the time?
Yes, he was still living at the time.
Okay. What were your parents saying about you getting married?
So you can't, as we all know, you really can't take advice from a woman when it comes to marriage. You know what I mean? You definitely can't take dating advice or marriage advice from a woman. I think mothers should, know when a woman's not good for a man in terms of that. But my mother really couldn't say anything because I wasn't living around there. And at the end of the day, me and my father didn't have that type of, I never had a sit down talk with my father. Like, we didn't have that relationship. So he just came by. He would come by the house just to see my mother periodically, maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, because he was a married man himself. You know what I mean? So my mother was just a side chick for him. You know, after 20 something years, still a side chick. So with that being said, I never had an actual father-son conversation with him in my entire life. So by the time, I got married, I just went ahead and got married and did it without anybody's consent. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
So that kind of, the lack of the father figure being there is why you made the decision, because there wasn't no mentorship.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of young black men come up like you would. There's not a lot of guidance coming from that particular situation. What are some of the things that a guy, know what you know now, if you had an 18-year-old son in that situation?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I had my son just turned 18. Yeah.
What were some of the things you would tell him, looking back on it now that you're in his life, that you would have told yourself at this time?
Man, I would tell him, man, have fun, take your time. Don't get involved. Don't be shooting the club up. Definitely, wear your protection at all times if you're going to have sex, obviously. You can't just go off of one woman. You really got to, especially at a young age, you have to deal with several women to actually know what it is that you like. You know what I mean? Because you could be dealing with, and this is why some, I wouldn't say this is one of the reasons why some guys do end up cheating. Or end up, because they'll end up with a woman, or they'll end up in a relationship with a girl, and she blows their socks off, and they never had anything to compare it to. So when they first get their first sexual experience, they just lose their mind. And after a while, that gets old. You know what I'm saying? Your identity, especially if you're in a long-term relationship with that high school sweetheart, your identity becomes attached to it. But then you may encounter, whether it be in the workplace, out and about, you may encounter something else that you haven't seen before, that you know, completely, you may be getting all this other attention outside of this, and you realize that, hey, this wasn't really, which sounds selfish at the end of the day, which some people will say that's selfish, but you really, like I said, that identity, all you know is this one person. You know what I'm saying? There's so much more that you have to explore and find out about who it is, because like I said, these things, just sorry to say, things do become old after a while. You know what I mean? It gets repetitive, it gets monotonous. Falling in love a lot of times is one thing, but I think it's just familiarity with a lot of people as far as this concept of falling in love. It's just comfort and familiarity. You know what I mean? Especially at a young age.
So let me ask you this. Let's talk about the things that you experienced when you got married. The young lady, you was married for 12 years.
Right.
Take me down a timeline, man, how things were happening up front. And then gradually, for these guys out here that's thinking about getting married at a young age, gradually how things started changing, if you could sum that up a little bit.
Right. So I got married, I met my wife back in 2001. We were both in the military. This is over in Korea, right? And like I said, it's not uncommon, but I didn't, we ended up getting married. We ended up going to Germany, right? So our first, 3 years together were spent in Germany with 2 children. So we didn't experience the social life, really, the club life, nightlife, college life, any of that. We just went straight from children to having kids, in the military, becoming adults immediately. You know what I'm saying?
How were you when you had 2 kids by that time?
Man, I was 19. Yeah.
19 with 2 kids?
Yeah. When I had my second son, I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 2003. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was 19 with 2 kids in 2003. So, that's basically what it was. And, at that time early on, you're seeing and just to be, I'm gonna keep it 100, you know what I'm saying? You're seeing different women, you're looking at different women, and you're like, I'm like, this is my wife. I love my wife, but I'm seeing these different women. And she's probably thinking the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't just say it's all men, but women are probably thinking the same thing. I'm married to this guy. I'm getting all this attention from all these other dudes, and as years go by, you take things for granted because this is all I know. This is this woman that I came up with, who basically you're growing up together. You're growing up together at a young age. You're learning life, in real time. It's dead reckoning, if you will. So we're learning all this stuff, and ended up having a third son.
Okay.
A few years later in 2006. So we got three kids in, and the funny thing about me, obviously, I came from a single mother home. Didn't really have, I dealt with a few women before I came in, or girls, if you will, but not on the level of being an adult. And her background was, she came from a background of, her sister, she had to help her mother take care of her sister because her sister was handicapped or whatever. Okay. So she had to help her mother. So her mother would put the daughter off on her while her mother went out to party. So she spent most of her life, already being a mother, a pseudo mother or de facto mother, if you will. Mm-hmm. So she comes from that into the military and ends up being a mother again. So she really didn't get to live her life. So basically, time goes by. I end up getting out of the Army, and I go into contracting in Afghanistan for 2 years. So while and this is the first time I'm actually away from her from a substantial amount of time at this time. So while I'm contracting, she is alone with the kids, but we're also moving in a new place. So she's hanging out with a certain crowd, and they're encouraging her. Women talk, and women talk about different things, and they're basically encouraging her to, you didn't get to live your life. You should live your life now. You know what I mean? Don't be tied down with these kids, blah, blah, blah. This man is out doing this. He's out doing God knows what. You need to live your life. So basically, that was something she always wanted to do. So she took up on that and basically just started living that life, while I was overseas. So by the time I came back, because I was coming back periodically throughout those 2 years, she basically was like, I don't want to be married anymore. I needed to discover myself. I don't know who I am. I need to find out who I need to be. And at the time, obviously that shit took my ass out. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm coming back, figuring this out. But as I've, going through the whole process, it took me 2 years to get a divorce. So we separated in 2012. I filed for divorce, even though she left. I filed for divorce. So it took me filing twice for her to finally sign the paperwork. But when I look back at it in retrospect, she was right. You know what I'm saying? She didn't really and she's, been able to do everything that she's wanted to do in terms of socially, if you will, throughout this time. And I've been able to, I was stagnant. I feel like that time being married, I was stagnant because I didn't have that time when I was younger. So after I separated from her, I learned so much stuff just outside of red pill stuff, but just about life in general, and traveling and meeting new people and meeting new women, and all this different stuff that was able to accomplish that I wouldn't have accomplished if I would have still been married to her. You know what I mean? Because that time I'm learning in my 30s stuff that I should have learned in my late teens, early 20s, or that throughout my 20s, which is kind of like a lot of guys. I'm not saying a lot, but there is a lot of guys who find themselves in that. And that's why they end up on YouTube, because they go through a divorce or a breakup in their 30s and even 40s, even 50s. And they don't know what the hell's going on because they've been with this woman 20 something years and their identity is attached to this woman. So they don't even know who the hell they are. That's why they're on YouTube finding this stuff out. And they're like, oh, this is this is what happened to me. There are dudes who've been through this stuff. Man, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And you got some of the dudes on the far right, if you will, and I don't want to say it because I don't want to offend any of them,
Right, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So they go a little bit too far because they develop, and there's been a lot of those trolls on my channel. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I look at it like you can be red pill and still like women, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that serious. Once you just have to learn who it is that you're dealing with. You know what I mean? And if you don't have a mentor early on, and you're gonna pay for it on the back end with a lot of this stuff, even in your marriage. You know what I mean? There's certain things you just can't go into marriage, blind just because a woman looks good. You know what I mean? So
let me ask you this, because you got a blossoming channel. I know me. I've been looking at you since you come into the business, man. You were struggling real tough.
Yeah, shout out to the
now you're I will say you're one of my sons in the ministry now. You're blowing up, player. But
already,
you see these things as you're getting towards 40. Life is opening up for you. I tell young black men all the time, just keep at it. Just keep at it. I know you've worked real hard, just like Steph is cold. Right. He was having the same issue, and then he came out of it. Like with the money you're making now and where you are right now in life, are your opportunities, even though you're 38, you're older, right? But would you say you have more opportunities now with women than you did when you was 28 or 30?
Absolutely.
Why do you say that?
Man, the time, the mindset that I have, because my mind obviously is a whole lot more sharper outside of the money. Obviously money does help. You know what I'm saying? Because it's perfectly fine in my opinion, and because I was one of those guys who didn't really know what the hell I wanted to do. I was a slave, and I hate to say this, shout out to all my brothers in arms, but we tend to have a herd mentality in the military. So my identity, even though it didn't really feel right, my identity was attached to the military. So, and I don't want to go off on a tangent on this, but I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just was like, follow orders and this is my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. You know what I'm saying? But now, going through trials and tribulations, going up and down, and because I've gained it and lost it all probably 2 or 3 times in my life. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. And I'm not just saying that. I've lost everything. I wouldn't say everything, but I've lost a lot of stuff like 2 or 3 times, gotten it back each time. But money definitely helps. You know what I'm saying? For the guys, like I have children too. So for the guys who don't have children, it might be a little bit easier. So for somebody like me who's got children and I'm still able to do this, still able to live my life. I travel, I know we're friends on Facebook, and for anybody who follows my channel or who has followed my channel or follow me on social media, you see I travel, nothing has changed. Like because I got so accustomed to it. I travel, I leave the country probably 4 to 5 times a year. I travel. I make it a point to do that. I make it a point to enjoy my life because I feel like it's my birthright, and I felt like I felt like I had to create the life that I wanted to have. And I wasn't gonna sit back and just let something just pass me by and just feel bad about stuff. I made it happen and felt like it was right to live this life that I want to live. But in terms of women, I think it's definitely when you carry yourself, you about your business and you focused, and when we talk about follow our purpose, if everything else just falls in line, you know what I mean? And I think like forgot the coach's name, but he said he likened it to a dessert. Women are just dessert for the rest of everything you got in life. You know what I mean? And that's how we should look at it. Not to demean women or, minimize them, but at the end of the day, that's how you should look at it as opposed to your life. Everything else, all the other stuff, women are as a passive byproduct of how you're living your life. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it.
Well, brother, one thing I would say about you, you're a hard-working man. And you got a lot of I see people when they come and go. Right. I see you always plugging, you chugging and everything, and that's what I like about you. You keep pushing. Even if the thing's not going well, you'll keep trying. You'll keep, and I'm so glad because a guy like you deserves to do well on YouTube. You have a really awesome channel, and I know Kevin Samuels actually came recently, commented on one of your videos. Shout out to Kevin Samuels.
Shout out to Kevin, man. Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah, he was a guy too that was just like you. He was plugging. You remember him?
Yeah. I remember when Kevin, like I said on my channel, and we got all the trolls keep saying this, but I remember when Kevin first showed up on the scene, and I even said it. Like I did a video on Kevin, the advent of Kevin Samuels. Like Kevin, like I had no, and I know you had no idea. I had no idea. I was like, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? Right. Doing, with the colognes and the, the image consultant, and you said that. And I was just like, who is this dude? Then the next thing you know, Kevin is the, I can't even describe it, man. Kevin, it's
bigger than life, bro. Like almost right now. He even
looks different. If you look at Kevin's, and I don't want to make this segment, but if you go and look at Kevin's older videos and you look at him now, he looks completely different.
Yeah, he looks different.
He like his face. He looks. Kevin has that that stoic look, serious now, and back then he was all smiling in all his videos, whatnot. But now he's completely different, man. But shout out to Kevin, man. I really appreciate him, man. I appreciate obviously the Duke, man. I always shout out to Duke.
Thank you, brother. And any last words, man, for the guys that are gonna come subscribe to your channel, man? What are some of the because they're gonna come and subscribe to you. So why should they subscribe to the burgeoning JR Wisdom YouTube channel?
Bro, if you wanna hear stories, because I think I know you a good storyteller, O'Shea, and I haven't even come with my stories in a while. But if you want to hear stories, if you want to hear somebody that's messed up a lot, I've messed up a whole lot. I've messed up, with women a lot. I've messed up in life. I've had setbacks. If you just want to hear stuff that's just not all the BS about, you're this perfect Mac. I say the perfect line to women. I've made this amount of money. If you want to cut all the BS, and I'm not no disrespect to any channel, but if you just want to cut out the BS and you just want to hear like a realistic take on things, not realistic, but just somebody who's actually messed up, that's made mistakes, I'm that dude that's made those mistakes, and I got a lot of stories coming up. Like I said, no disrespect to anybody's channel, but I'm definitely imperfect. I'll definitely be the first to say that. You know what I'm saying? I get turned down more than any other guy. I get shut down. I've messed up with women in bed. and all types of shit like that. So it's nothing for me to act like I'm this super,
Right.
He-Man player that,
Right.
slays millions of women and have, say the perfect line every time. No. So that's what my channel is about. It's about realistic situations that definitely I'll be getting into in my take on from my experience of, being out in these fields, as you call it, Duke. Being out in these fields, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Well, man, let me borrow some of that hair, player, so I can, get my hairline together, player.
Yeah, man. You can come back. You can come back, Duke. You're not that far. It's right there in Turkey.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about that the way they get them hairline receding?
Yeah, you can come back, man. That's right.
Yeah,
right
my boy got one from Team with the Turkey and got one too. A little.
Yeah, man. Yeah, hey, you're right there. Shit, that's what, an hour flight.
Yeah, man. I can come back with a curl. I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get that Icky Woods, Eric Dickerson.
What they call it?
The Icky Woods.
What they call it? That Puerto Rican in a can.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah. So I could be shaking it, so it could be glistening. Y'all be mad at me too. I be taking all your women and stuff. Y'all be hating on me, flagging my channel and stuff. But anyways, man, I really appreciate you coming on here, brother. I really seen your growth over the years on the platform, and you're really good, brother, man. I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you go to the first comment pinned to the top. Subscribe to JR Wisdom, man. And as you know, keep it real. We out. Peace.
Appreciate you, man.